Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Cash Flow Positive. I'm your host, Kenny Bedwell, and I have a special treat for you today. So, we're going to be talking about amenities and, in particular, what to add to your property. Now, obviously, every market's different, and the types of amenities you should add should be different. But the key concepts that myself and my guest, Jose Cornejo, are going to be talking about are going to be applied to any property in any market that's going to elevate how much money you can get out of the amenities. And so we will talk about specific amenities, but more importantly, though, how can you use those amenities to make more money? The secret tips to do that. So be sure you pay attention. And that's why I wanted to bring on Jose. Jose has been in the short-term rental industry for literally over 18 years. Not 18 years in real estate investing, but in the short-term rental industry. So before Airbnb, when it was literally sketchy people on Craigslist kind of stuff. So I'm super excited to have him on here. He's a dear friend of mine. He's a co-host. He owns property or manages properties all over and owns some in the Poconos. So Jose, without further ado, tell us more about yourself.
So my name is Jose Cornejo. I've been in the short-term rental industry for about 18 years now. I actually started this way back when there was no Airbnb, no Verbo. Everything was done through Craigslist and direct mailing. So it's evolved a lot, and a lot has to do with technology. So all of the tech stack that's available right now has made my job a lot easier. I also do co-hosting for various different markets in the East Coast. And I also help clients with some listing optimization, some general overview on STR, obviously sharing some of my knowledge in specific markets, just making sure that they're checking all the boxes so they can maximize on their revenue. And outside of all that great stuff, I'm also, a father and a husband, and, try to balance the work day life. But this is sort of my full-time job. And I love it. So, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks, Jose. So, Jose, you own. Where do you first off tell people where you own?
Sure, I own properties I own 3 lakefront homes in the Poconos.
Okay.
I own 2 homes in the Outer Banks at the beach, and I also manage 2 other properties in the Outer Banks. And I'm also managing some properties in Kentucky.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Right on. Very nice. Where in Kentucky, just out of curiosity?
Just around the Louisville area. Just
okay.
Picked up some clients around that are just coming in some specific HOAs.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So kind of building the portfolio around. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you've been the Poconos ones. How long have you had those?
Oh man, that was sort of my first house that I bought in a community. I've had those for about 18 years. The first one that I bought was a house on the lake with a pool, which, if you can remember back in the day, nobody wanted houses with pools.
Yeah.
So that house was actually on the market for about 275 days. Nobody wanted it. So I made a lowball offer, and we were able to get it. And nice. Little by little, we've been able to update it and do a lot of things with it. And again, it wasn't something that was right off the bat spend $100,000 to update this house. It was little by little taking down the panel walls and putting sheetrock. That was kind of the big thing. Removing the weird heaters that they had and putting baseboard heaters. That wasn't even back when HVAC was something that people used. And then slowly, like, renovating the game room, which we had downstairs, and renovating the bedrooms, putting in additional amenities here and there every year. Funny enough, I have a guest that has stayed with me for about 13 years now. She keeps coming back every year with her family and her grandkids, and they love it because they go fishing. They stay there for a week. They love the pool. Back in the day, I had a pool. I had that pool without a heater. If you can imagine that. So for about, I would say maybe like 10 years, I had it without a heater. And it was getting very good revenue, good enough for what the market dictated. But at a certain point, maybe 5 years ago, when a lot of the STR folks, started talking about all these things, we met Bill, I met you, we started kind of figuring out a lot of the things that move the needle. I started investing in the things that actually do make sense for the guests. And it was a very easy transition, even because I thought it was going to be hard with the existing guests. Like, how do I take them from paying $3,000 a week to paying close to $12,000 a week, right?
Mm,
And it happened slowly, not so much for those specific guests because they've been with me, so I give them a break, but they're not paying $3,000 anymore, right? So
yeah.
it's great because I feel like it's just a matter of taking, for me, I feel like I probably wasn't missing out on so much revenue early on, but now when there's so much competition, when everything else around you, when the pictures, even just investing $1,000 on getting some good pictures taken, in the winter, I just had that done because we
Mm,
finally got some snow in the Poconos. Um, and then in the summer, and then when the leaves fall. So now I have enough content to be able to switch those back and forth with my ads and my pictures around and the listings. So just having not so much even like the amenity, the physical amenities, but the pictures, which I consider amenities too, the way to market. I feel like that just adds to your arsenal, and it positions you in a way that it gets eyes and it gets clicks, and ultimately the rankings become better.
yeah, for sure. One thing I want the listeners to understand here. So Jose and even myself too, for the most part, we are invested in vacation markets that are very, very like have been around for decades. Like people have been going to the Poconos. I don't know. You tell me. I don't for probably a long, long, long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and my Watkins Glen, he's managing property in Kentucky. I'm about to launch a property in Kentucky. But the Outer Banks as well. Those have been around forever. But these areas are old. It's not like this hot new thing in the last like 10 years
Yeah.
that exploded. These areas have been around forever. People have been vacation there forever. And the standards are considerably lower than some of these other places. And so I think we're going to talk about the amenities that change the game, but people who are going to be in really, 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 I'll say saturated markets, but very competitive
Yeah.
markets probably already have all the amenities under the sun. And they have to focus on their pitchers. They have to focus on a lot of these other things. Not to say you shouldn't do that, but like they're already doing that. And so, but for the most part, though, the things we're going to share with you, some people are going to be like, "Really? That's it?" Like adding the hot tub or heating the pool. Come back to this stuff.
Mhm.
But listen though to, and this will help you get ideas, even if you are in a competitive market as well. Regardless of the type of amenities we're saying. So anyway, Jose, let's go back and let's talk about this. So you mentioned moving the guests. So it's not just about I want to add an amenity and just make more money. I want that amenity to bring me more money. But it's about changing the guest experience to where they feel like it's justified to a premium.
Yeah.
That's what I took away from that. I think that's a huge lesson that probably one of the key notes that we need to really understand from this. So let's dive into that. What point did you realize that you wanted to, obviously make money, but like change that guest experience?
Yeah. I think around 5 years ago or so, when there was a big explosion in the STR world, and we were going into COVID, you know, I feel like at that time it was a good time for us owners to realize, all right, well, I can just market my property the way it is, right?
Yeah.
And everybody's going to take it. Wow, you have a lakefront with a pool. I picked up two more, by the way. I picked up the one next door to it about 5 years later, and then I picked up one about two houses down
Hmm.
the road about another 5 years later. So I have three. And then they went into this whole, uh, whatever restrictions you can't do anymore. So I'm fine. I'm grandfathered in. I'm three of 10 houses that actually can rent in that neighborhood. So I'm perfectly happy. So from that natural demand, I also benefit from, right? So we're in a community with 600 houses. Only 10 have permits, and I own three of them. And it's a
Gotcha.
very nice community, right? Very
Yeah.
quiet, everything. So things like that is what I also sort of talk about with some clients. Is like, and some of our key speakers talk about that too. Get things that are natural, get things that
Mhm.
nobody else has that are unique. Lakefront, a great view, accessibility, all that stuff you can't buy, you can't add as an amenity, right? So having that, I feel like helps. And so creating content around it on how you position it with Airbnb and Verbal to say that you're an exclusive community, you have exclusive access to indoor pools, outdoor pools, blah, 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 also gives you the head up. But coming out of COVID, I think a lot of people realize that, okay, I can't just do what I used to do. I think they realized that really quickly, right? They said, okay,
Yeah.
well, my revenue's falling. What do I need to do? And so folks start throwing a bunch of amenities just to kind of check the boxes.
Yep.
Um, I was very careful as to when I did that because also, I knew because I'm doing this for a long time, I knew that the pot of money that we all made during COVID was going to run out, right? So I use that as like, okay, let's spread that over 2 to 3 years and see how kind of is balancing out, so that we can take, whatever amount money you made this year, average it out by this year and then next year, so that you're not running into like January and February with zero money in your bank account, right? And
Right.
you have no money to upgrade when like the roof falls down or something. So I was also calculated in not throwing 5 amenities at a time because I wanted to measure what actually worked. So
Mhm.
um, I put in about 7 years ago. I put in the pool heater because I have a 40 by 20 foot pool. It's a big pool. It's a lakefront pool. But what that did for me was it extended the seasons. So now, because you're in the Poconos and I live in New York, so typically it's about 7 degrees colder up in the mountains, about 1,000 foot above sea level there. It's about 7 degrees colder. So if I can get people middle of May and start cranking in my pool heater and offer, 80 to 83-degree heated pools, it's going to fill your calendar for the weekends and sometimes during the week as well
Yeah.
in May. Forget about, like, you get to Memorial Day, you can charge a premium there because you have a heated pool and
Right.
you're on the lake, so it's warm already. And then all of June, I noticed that, even though here in New York, the schools don't get let out till like late June, I was getting full rentals from June. I was fully booked every day from beginning of June to the end of September. So
Mhm.
again, extending, instead of closing it out my pool Labor Day, I am pushing it out to sometimes, depending on the calendars, like early October, right?
Mhm.
But I have the communications with the guests saying, hey, I'm gonna, and I've done this, and I said, listen, I'm gonna charge you for a pool fee and all that stuff. But if it's too cold and my pool heater can't get there, I have a 400 BTU electric like pool heater. It's pretty
Mhm.
big,
Yeah.
but it doesn't. I mean, it gets to
How
maybe
how
70.
did you decide a pool heater though? Like out of all the amenities and stuff that was going to do it, how did you say first I want to do a pool heater?
Honestly, it's just myself vacationing myself and going to a place that did not have it was the summer and the pool was cold. So now
Mm,
I really understood getting into a pool, that feeling, and where, look, the pool's supposed to be refreshing,
yeah.
but when it's cold and it's uncomfortable, then it's just a nice thing to see in the backyard and nobody's
Right.
going to use it. So what I wanted is people to really enjoy it. So even in a hot summer day, you put the heater on and it feels awesome to be in there. And that feeling of just going in and like, oh, it's so relaxing. Look at the view. It's great. It just
Yeah.
it just guarantees your guests to have a good time, a good experience, right? And then you throw in all the games, and then you throw in everything extra. I was just telling you that I just came back from vacation, right? And these some of these resorts had some things. It's good to just have the pool as one thing to do,
Yeah.
right? When you can jump in the hot tub or go play Pac-Man or go play ping pong or go watch a movie or go, chill out in the hammock down by the lake or go fishing. That just fills up the calendar for the kids. For us parents, we live for them. So as
Hmm.
long as they're happy, we'll cater to them. So yes, we'll take you fishing. Yes, we'll take you out on the boat. Yes, we'll take you to the other pool. Yes, we'll take you to the beach. So now you just did this for the whole day. Guess what? You're gonna wake up and do that again and again and again for 7 days.
Yeah.
And then when you leave, what do you think the grandkids are telling the grandparents? I want to come back here next year. right? And the grandparents are easily forking out that money because they're paying for the memories.
Yep.
So I feel it's sort of a connection of doing that, and just this year, in the last 12 months, around this time last year, I decided to finally put in hot tubs in all three of those properties. Believe it or not, I didn't have hot tubs. I wasn't one to jump on a hot tub wagon right after COVID, even though it was getting popular and all that stuff. I waited a little bit to see kind of what the return was. I heard you talk about some returns early on some of the meetings and some of the at the Nashville meeting as well. And so that actually got me to start doing it and looking into the right solution. It was a big investment. I spent about $150,000 last year in all three of my properties
Mm,
to upgrade them. Because Kenny,
yeah.
it finally needed that upgrade. I think last time I did that was probably 10 years ago.
Right.
So it finally needed that next push because I had gotten enough data to say that every calculated investment or additional amenity that I put in will get a return. And
Yep.
I'm seeing that now year over year. I don't know if you want me to share some just general numbers if it helps. Um,
Sure. Go ahead. We love numbers. We love data.
yeah.
Hit us. Hit us. Go
So
ahead,
year
Jose.
over year, I'm looking at my numbers year over year, last January versus this January. In terms of income, just income was 49.7 higher this
Wow.
January versus last year, and
Okay.
February was 103.2. So I
Geez. There you
doubled
go,
my revenue. Now,
man.
was it all just the hot tub? Probably not. It was the hot tub, the combination of hot tub. I put in a game room. I put in, arcades. I didn't have arcades, so we talk about amenities. That is easily $500 investment. It paid off within a month, probably.
Okay.
But to go into the slow months for us, because even though the Poconos is still a ski market, right? I'm not right on the mountain, so that amenity for me doesn't exist, right?
Mm,
But
hmm.
I was also not disappointed that I still have the lake, and I'm still 23 minutes away from Shawnee, where you can get there, or the Camelback is pretty close as well.
Yeah.
I'm not right on the mountain, but because you have a full house and you have all these other amenities, you can come back to a house. You can go skiing all day and then come back to a nice, comfortable place and where you can actually enjoy all the amenities, hot tub, the game room, all the like I redid the kitchen in one. I put in a new game room on another property. I just basically painted everything so it looks fresh and upgraded a lot of the different furniture and all these beddings and things like that. So it was a big investment that I feel I got a full return within probably 7 or 8 months. So now
Gotcha.
going into 2025 for me,
That's awesome. Yeah.
it's clean. Like I don't owe anything. I'm clean in there, and then I'm seeing the results sort of in January and February. March is
Yeah.
going to be interesting to see because March, as you know, March and early April are always slow, but we'll see kind of how that starts coming in.
Yeah. There's a couple takeaways I want people to understand what you're saying. So, like, number one, um, certain amenities impact your seasonality. So,
Sure.
like, when I added a hot tub to my lake property in New York, I added it in like July, and like it was crickets. Like, it didn't, like, I added pictures and I was like super excited about it. It was like crickets for like 4 weeks, and I'm like, seriously, like nobody, no one mentioned it. People were using it, but it wasn't like this talked about thing.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like, September rolls around, it's
Yeah.
like boom,
Yeah.
booking. Hey, is the hot tub work? Yep, it's
Yeah.
good. Okay, great. We're excited to use it.
Yeah.
Boom, another one, another one. They just talk about the hot tub.
Yeah.
And then January, I'm like, every weekend is full now. And February, every weekend is full, and it's all for the hot tub.
Yeah.
You know, um, in maybe more competitive markets, you have high seasons and low seasons, and so maybe it's not the hot tub. You already have a hot tub, most likely,
Mhm.
right? You
Mhm.
probably you might even have an indoor swimming pool that's heated. I don't know, but the thing though, I learned from this is when you do have your low seasons, what types of amenities can you add to your property to attract guests
Yeah.
to stay during those low seasons,
Yeah.
and then how can you market those too?
That's right.
With your photos and things.
That's right.
I think that's one of the big. You mentioned that with the pool heater, extending your season, from in May and then later on in the year in the fall as well. Those are all key things that help make you more money rather than just like amplify the experience for the guests too. So I really like that. Yeah. What other thoughts? I mean, now that you're managing properties in the OBX and Kentucky. What other types of amenities have you seen that maybe work in those markets that you wouldn't have thought in the Poconos?
That's a good question. I think one of the things that I'm thinking about for the Poconos is bikes.
Interesting.
I don't know. I haven't seen anyone offer them. I do offer them in my OBX properties because obviously it's easy for them not to bring like 5 or 6 bikes and you can just have
Yeah.
use of them. They do deteriorate fairly quickly, so it's an expense you have to take in mind when you're also
Yeah.
kind of creating your pricing, so that you know that you have to replace 3 or 4 every year. But that's one of the things I was thinking. Just having 2 or 3 bikes there
Right.
because the community is very safe, and there's some nice trails to go around. And most people don't think about that. Now, I would have to probably get like mountain bikes instead of like road bikes or beach bikes, or maybe just
Mhm.
get beach bikes and then just activate that in the summer. Maybe. I we tend to also not get so. It's interesting because and it's definitely related. There's correlation in the fact that I have a heated pool in the one property, and then no private heated pool in the other 2 properties. Well, guess
Yeah.
which one is fully booked for the summer already, right? Uh,
Yeah.
you know, the other two, we have to sort of create strategies around how do we want to do it. No longer 7 days; it's probably a minimum of 4 days, and then we're getting sprinkles here and there. But what if we add bikes to just those 2 properties? They don't have a pool, but they might have the extra amenity that the one that has a pool doesn't need right now.
Yeah.
So I'm
Okay.
thinking about like the crossover between the beach and that. Um, and then, like you mentioned, seasonal. I try to provide an experience that is very easy for guests. So I have been providing firewood. Like I get it delivered. I know it's expensive and it costs me, but it doesn't cost them. They all you have to do is they walk 10 feet, they grab some firewood, and they go and do a fireplace outside or s'mores or whatever, right? Um, so maybe some things I've been considering is, do I just do it for the cold season, right? Like
Mm.
now until maybe April, and I stop. Like I won't do it for like May, June, July. If they want to do it, of course they can, but they can buy their own, right?
Right.
So that's sort of an amenity. So I've been advertising that, as something that they get automatically and it's exclusive to my guests, blah blah blah, and they love it, right?
Hmm.
Especially in the cold when they forget something. But it's also very hard to manage because, like, okay, I provide firewood. I can go and buy a bunch of those lighters, but they just go bad within a week. So now there's no lighters. All right. What about a fire starter? Where there's a lot of people that require some sort of fire starter, and I'm like, okay, that expense just keeps getting more expensive, more expensive, more expensive. I don't want to take away from my profit, right? I want to make sure that I provide an experience, but I got also got to be calculated. Now, how much is that going to cost me, per stay, if I'm providing a lighter every time, a fire starter, wood, which is no longer cheap, and then on top of that, all the extra little stuff that I leave. So that's going to cost me 20 to 25 per person. And then sometimes, like in a month of March, if I'm not getting my AER that I require, that could hurt a little bit, right? So I have to be
Yeah.
sort of calculated as to how much is enough.
Yeah.
So
No, that makes sense.
yeah,
Yeah. How much is enough, and what's like the trade off? Where does it get overkill? I mean,
yeah,
I see
right,
people doing waffle bars and hot chocolate bars and milkshake bars, and I make fun of those because I'm like, man, that's messy, and my cleaner would kill me if I
yeah.
tried to
And
do
it
that.
takes away
And
from
it's
your
also like
profit.
the
It takes away
yeah.
from your profit, and then how much of that, like if you say, "Oh, I'm not making enough. I didn't make enough," and I so it's not just like creating all the amenities to make profit. I'm over the last, I would say, 24 months. I'm on this thought that it's not just what you charge; it's also what you can save, right?
Yeah.
What expenses can you save so that your profit margin gets a little higher?
Absolutely. I love that. That's really, really good. So yeah, I see all these people I call it shotgunning menus. Like they add everything under the sun.
Yeah,
They add, all the,
yeah,
the
yeah,
the bar stuff I was
yeah.
mentioning, and then the firewood and all this stuff. And it's like, cool, you made maybe $200 more than someone else, but then you spent $500 to provide that $200.
Right, right.
It doesn't make business financial
Yes,
sense
correct.
doing all that. But I think another lesson that I want to point out here for people is that you are not only adding it, but you're marketing it.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that for a second.
Yeah.
How are you marketing these things, like the firewood or the hot tub, just any of the different amenities? Be specific as you can. How are you doing this?
Yeah. So it was, what I've always wanted is a hot tub in the snowy background of the
Yeah.
Poconos with the lake, the frozen lake, and then the Pocono Mountains in the back, right? Like an
Yep.
aerial view of that shot. And I finally got it because we got some snow and I got my photographer to go out there. And then, all the twilight pictures. So having access to some content like that and being able to put that through, I feel like it also got a lot of attention because now my pictures look white, in the background with the leaves all out of the trees, and you can clearly see the white lake and the mountains. So I feel like a lot of it has to do with touching that experience that you're going to get when you get to the house. So
Yeah.
if you don't have that, I would suggest planning it out. It's okay. Like I didn't have it for, whatever, 17 years, and I just started doing it. And I feel that that's moved the needle over the last, because I just got it about 45 days ago. Another thing that I just got, and if you looked at in my listings, I just put it up actually 2 days ago, is I was just recently interviewed by Pocono Television Network to do a piece on short-term rentals in Airbnb, which is going to come out, I think, in the next 30 days. It's great. So the whole crew came in and filmed in one of my properties, and they actually did a Super Bowl commercial for the Poconos and the Pocono Mountains. So that house that you see there with the green cabinets is mine. They stayed there and they did an interview, but they also took some pictures. They also were able to provide a lot of lifestyle pictures. So we had some models. We had a family that come in. They started playing with, by the fire. It's a family with a hot cocoa, watching TV, and the kids playing cards and doing a puzzle on the kitchen table, jumping on the beds, things like that. I feel like if you can get access to a photographer and some people that can help you do that, that might be a good way to showcase what it looks like for somebody or a family to be there. So
Yep.
I think I just put that up, and I track my rankings every week. So me and my team are sort of taking a look at that to see how that's going to move the needle now, moving it.
Yep.
So again, like just if you have the amenities, take pictures of them. Like if you have like a French press, take a picture of that with some coffee being made and like the little smoke coming out of the thing in background and blur it with the kitchen and put it there and just have a person holding it. I think for the coffee drinkers, that's going to be an awesome take. And they're like, yes, that's exactly what I want to do. I just want to get
Yep.
away from here, from the city or whatever. So just test it out. I think something easy like that somebody can do tomorrow is something that can potentially help you move the needle. And shocking the Airbnb group by putting in a new picture also kind of creates a little bit of advantage for you guys.
Right. Yeah. I love that. It's not about selling the amenity. It's about selling the experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had a photographer. I was a property the property I'm partnered with in Asheville. The photographer came and we couldn't get, the great Andrew Keller or Sam Smith to come out. So we got a local guy. He took good shots, but the hot tub, the cover was off, but it was just like, it was not on. And we have like a movie projector and it was just like an empty hot tub with a blank projector. And I'm like, hold on. Like, obviously you can edit something on the screen, but I'm like, this looks boring. I was like, no, he's going back.
Right.
It's
Right.
like,
Right.
this has got to be
Yeah.
reshot. Like,
Yeah.
I tell people like now when we do shoots, I have flowers, I have a charcuterie board, I have fruit, I have
Hmm.
wine, I
Hmm.
like literally like all these things that we like stick around the place to add, that stage look. And then I
Yeah.
love having models in my photos. I know that's a controversial topic for some folks. I don't know why. Because they're like, oh, like but it doesn't make any sense because the data says else. It says that you will make more money if you have models in your photos. so,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's one of those things where it's like, photos are the marketing, the experience. You're selling an experience on Airbnb. you're not selling real estate.
Yeah.
So
And I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it until I saw it, right? Because I think, I was talking with those people and they're like, oh, yeah, you would think, oh, yeah, I could be a model. Yeah, right. But,
yeah,
they're very photogenic, right? And they're
yeah,
very like, it's just something about that, the way that they've obviously studied and learned that makes it
hmm
come across as it's very natural. And,
right.
I'm not trying to deceive anyone, by the way. Like, that's the whole purpose of this is just to try to make sure that people imagine what it would look like and
Yeah,
put themselves
absolutely.
there,
They
right?
have to see if they can see themselves there. It's a
Yeah,
lot easier to identify your property amongst the sea of other properties,
100%.
regardless. So it doesn't matter what amenity you add, as long as you're marketing correctly. I don't think you need to get insanely creative all the time. Like, oh, I need a pickleball court that glows in the dark that's built inside. Like all these crazy
Right.
things. How are you going to market that to your guests? So, Jose, as we're kind of wrapping up here, man, first off, this has been super helpful. I know you help with consulting. I know you help with co-hosting and things. How do people get in contact with you if they want to talk to you and learn more about your services?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you can email me, jose@cornejorentals.com. You can go check out my properties at cornejorentals.com. If you want to, set up an appointment or just a chat for you and I to chat for 15, 30 minutes and see where you're having issues. Again, I am here to help. The consulting for me is more of a side thing. And I really, I just help someone set up a tree house in Pigeon Forge, and that was fun, right?
Mhm.
Because it's
Yeah.
something unique. So if there's anything that you guys just want to run by me, I'm happy to just talk about it and give you some pointers. But if you want to really get into in depth with your property and kind of how your listing is, or if you're having issues, like again, like Kenny said, competing in a tough market. I might be able to sort of go in and give you some pointers or work with you on helping you, guide you on how you can sort of shine a little bit more through more of a consulting. And I do that once in a while. I have a few clients that I just sort of talk to on a quarterly basis, just because
hmm
um, for me it was a big leap to to talk to people that know, that have a lot of the data, like like when you and I joined the mastermind and Bill, for me it was great to just sort of fast track my growth, right?
Yeah.
If we can do that with somebody that's already done it and they can just get you to the top of the line, I will pay a premium for that myself, even
Sure.
including today. Like if you tell me, hey, I know how to get you more bookings for March, hey, talk to me. I don't care how much it costs, right? Because I know I can make it on the back end. So I think
hmm
people should I think if I can give you one advice is look at spend on the things that you feel are going to help you move the needle. So good pictures, not necessarily like $15,000 hot tubs, right? If you have a
hmm
hot tub, just make it look good. If you have a French press, make it look good. If you have a foosball table, just take some pictures with people playing in there. And if you go to my websites and into things, you'll see kind of what I'm talking about. And I wanted to send you a link, Kenny, but I don't know if it's too late to show it to you, so they can see kind of how it looks. It looks really inviting. And
hmm
then if you could just hire someone from Fiverr or something to just make the picture be awesome. If you don't like it, just make it even better. $10, $20 to do that. I feel like those to me count as investments for amenities, right? If you just
Yeah,
spend all this
absolutely.
money on
Yeah.
amenities, but you can't show it the right way, then you've lost, right?
Right.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. Cool, man. Well, hey, thank you so much for being on the show. And if you guys like this episode and you want to get in touch with Jose, feel free to reach out to him. That's Jose at cornejorentals.com. So once again, thanks, Jose. And I hope everyone enjoyed listening to this episode of Cash Flow Positive, and I'll see you on the next one.
Thanks.